5 a.m. I'm up with a crisp Celsius energy drink. Running 12 miles today. Grab a green juice, quick change, and head to work. Meetings, workshops. One more Celsius, no slowing down. Working late, but obviously still meeting the girls for a little dancing. Celsius. Live, fit, go. Grab a cold, refreshing Celsius at your local retailer or locate now at Celsius.com.
Today on CityCast Boise. A controversial festival raised more eyebrows than funds thanks to a podcaster's racist remarks. Meanwhile, Idaho's public lands seem to be more at risk than ever, and our legislators seem oddly quiet about it. Plus, Boise's pro soccer team is finally unveiling their name and mascot. It's Friday, June 27th. I'm Lindsay Van Allen, and this is what Boise's talking about. Happy Friday, everyone. Joining me to break down all the latest stories is our executive producer, Frankie Barnhill. And this episode is sponsored by Visit Walla Walla. Thank you so much for joining me, Frankie.
Hey, Lindsay. Lots of fun things to talk about today, depending on your definition of fun, I guess.
Fun is a word for it. That's absolutely true. Idaho and Boise specifically, once again, made national news, not because we're brilliant and creative and amazing, but because of Hetero Awesome Fest.
But wasn't it not very awesome? Because not many people showed up to this thing, which is, of course, a, response to Pride. I know you went to this thing a little bit, Lindsay, so I really want to hear what you saw.
Yeah, I was at the farmer's market last Saturday, and then I was like, hey, I'm going to head over to near the Capitol to this Hetero Awesome Fest, and I'm just curious to see, how does Boise feel about this? And we were able to get right in. There's been video of drag queens and different people who tried to get in who were not allowed in. But I was with my husband, so we were a hetero appearing couple.
Right.
And we walked in and there was, I'm going to be generous, there was 30 people there. But there were also people walking in and out of their booths. So there were several booths. Okay. There was North Idaho Tallow, the Idaho Freedom Foundation, several Christian clothing brands. And so they would all kind of walk around together. And so it was hard to tell who was attendees and who was there for their booth. Huh. And then there was a stage set up, and I got some footage of this. I have it on my Instagram and my TikTok. And there were about 4 people by the stage. There was a bouncy castle with no one in it, a bouncy slide with no one on it. It was a little dystopian, honestly.
Yeah.
And then there was this big VIP area. I filmed that. There was no one there. There was several other areas where you could go and have drinks and things. Nobody was there. And this was at 1:00 on a Saturday. So I had also the previous week been at the park at 1:00 on Saturday for the No Kings rally, where I had filmed people and just kind of got a vibe for what was going on. And there were easily 4,000 to 5,000 people there. So it was a very stark contrast from the No Kings protest to Hetero Awesome Failure Fest.
Well, and I suppose in some ways, we can talk about the crowd size or lack thereof, because that was definitely one of the main takeaways for me, seeing these videos and hearing the reporting around it. I suppose there's a difference, to be fair, between a set time for a rally and a festival that occurs over a day. However, I know you were also at Canyon County Pride a few weeks ago, which occurred, multiple events over an entire day. How many people do you think were probably at Canyon County Pride at 1 p.m.?
Oh, geez. It was quite busy. From noon to 2, it was really busy. So I'd say there were easily 700 to 1,000 people there at that time. They said over the course of that 8 hours, they had more than 4,000 people. So
at Canyon County Pride.
Yeah. So yeah. It was quite full. There were huge lines for the food trucks. You had to wait to see vendors. It was enough of a crowd that there were waits for things.
Yeah. And I suppose, the reason why the crowd size is interesting is, of course, when we saw that this guy, Mark Fitzpatrick, who's the owner of the Old State Saloon in Eagle, was going to be putting on this Hetero Awesome Festival, very clearly, countering Pride and saying all kinds of things about the people who attend Pride. I was like, how many people are going to show up? And I was nervous about how many people might show up in support of something that, to be frank, to me seems incredibly hateful. And so, yeah, there was some relief in seeing that there was pretty low attendance overall for this Hetero Awesome Festival.
Well, and I think looking back, because I actually looked back at Hetero Awesome Fest had this Twitter page. Mark posted about it on his socials all the time. We're going to have a big crowd. Everybody's interested. And those posts would actually get a fair amount of traction. And so I think this was a fantastic example of the fact that just because you've gotten a lot of traction online amongst a group, or let's be truly fair, like I have a Twitter account, I've been on Twitter, there's a lot of bots, there's a lot of trolls, there's a lot of sock accounts. And so it's difficult to gauge what is real and what is being propped up by those accounts. But it seems very clear that he thought he was going to have a lot more traction. And I think he found out very expensively, because this festival cost him $85,000.
Wow.
And he did not cover the cost of that. He is crowdsourcing for money as we speak, asking people to fund the cost because people did not show up. That he found out in real time that just because you can get 3,000 people to like a post on Twitter does not mean anybody is coming to your festival in Boise. Those do not have a one-to-one transfer.
Yeah. And of course, one of the main things that came out of this, there were a few different kind of moments. There was the person who was essentially like, a protester who signed up to be a singer and fooled them all. And that was a very punk rock moment. One of the main things that came out of this, of course, was that live podcast taping by Dave Riley, North Idaho right-wing provocateur, very vocally has said really racist and anti-Semitic things online. And during that recording, of course, he said something incredibly upsetting. And for anyone who hasn't heard it, they should go and listen to themselves and hear the tone in which he said it. Said kind of jokingly, but mentioned specifically when the panelists, including Mark Fitzpatrick, was on that panel. Dave Riley said, "Oh yeah, it's so clean here. The city, Boise is so clean here. There aren't any Black people here."
Yeah, and he said it very conspiratorially. He's letting you all in on what he believes everyone listening believes.
Right.
And I think it's worth noting that got more of a reaction and more people talking than the actual festival itself. Mm-hmm. And Dave Riley and Rebecca Hargraves run this podcast called The Backlash out of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And both of them have made waves for saying very racist, anti-Semitic things. Like Rebecca recently did an interview where she said, people should just be open about their racism. That's nothing to be ashamed of. And Dave Riley has said very racist, anti-Semitic, homophobic, misogynistic things. That's kind of his brand. And they've posted about being at Mark Fitzpatrick's bar, because now Mark is trying to say, well, I didn't know they were going to say that, or I couldn't have predicted. This is not the first time either of them would have said something like that. They've said that before. They have posted themselves several times at Mark's bar, Old State Saloon and Eagle. They've posted about how they've talked about things with him, how they've done their podcast at his bar. And so I find it difficult to believe that Mark didn't know.
Yeah.
He knew who he was inviting. He knows their brand of content. If you listen to any of their episodes, it becomes abundantly clear who they are. And so I truly think at this point, he's distancing himself because the backlash from that moment is costing him a lot of money. He's been dropped as the Red Chair Lavender Fest sponsor. He was going to be their main sponsor. He has been, Eagle Magazine got on one of my posts about the event, distanced themselves from Old State Saloon saying, hey, we didn't know who this guy was when we interviewed him. We don't feature him. We don't condone this. But Mark is suddenly facing some financial repercussions for courting these groups of people.
Right, yeah. And KTVB's Brian Holmes had a really great interview with Mark where he was asking him about this, and he did not denounce it. At no point did he denounce those comments. He said, oh, I wouldn't have said it, but, I can't control when someone says, basically was his paraphrase.
Yeah, or that it's free speech. He's free to say what he wants.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I'm glad you brought up the sponsor thing, because I guess my question to you is, he said that he's going to do this again next year, but there's been such an incredible backlash in just the week since this event happened. Do you think it'll happen again?
He is crowdsourcing for approximately $50,000 as we speak. I guess I feel like if he wants to publicly throw a terrible party that nobody wants to attend and lose $50,000 a year doing it, that's fine. That we can keep laughing at him. We can keep talking about what a disaster this is. I was going to say, if he wants to keep losing money in this public, humiliating way, I'm not against it. Need a reset or just a chance to slow down? Trade the traffic and to-do lists for a glass of wine and an open sky at Walla Walla. Just a scenic 4-hour drive from Boise, this peaceful destination in the heart of the Pacific Northwest offers a true escape from your hectic schedule. You'll have the opportunity to wander through more than 130 wineries nestled among golden hills and vineyards, and then cozy up in a tasting room. You can stroll through the charming historic downtown by day, and at night, dine al fresco on meals made by celebrated chefs from fresh ingredients grown just down the road on local farms. Come discover why Walla Walla is one of the Pacific Northwest's best-kept secrets. You don't have to go far to feel far away. Plan your getaway at wallawalla.org today.
My cat Freddie loves to be brushed and cuddled. But stirring up his cat allergens meant sneezing and itchy eyes. Then I found Purina One Live Clear. It's cat food that reduced the major allergen and my suffering in as little as 21 days. Now, we feel closer than ever. If you have issues with cat allergens, you really need to try Purina One Live Clear.
Try new Purina One Live Clear today. Purina One, a difference from day one.
Frankie, something else we just absolutely have to talk about is that I'm not going to call it that, this giant bill that I'm not a fan of. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. I'm not calling it the other name. I refuse.
The BBB?
Yeah, the OBBB, something, whatever.
Yeah.
Things are moving and shifting with that when it comes to public lands. And so I wanted to just ask you, can you explain what the changes are and how they could affect things near Boise?
Absolutely. Yeah. So you had a great conversation with Idaho Statesman opinion writer Brian Clark earlier this week with the previous version of this bill that was going to mean a lot of Forest Service land, a lot of BLM land throughout Idaho was going to be up for sale. And the backlash to that, I don't know if Senator Mike Lee just loves being hated by everybody or what that's about. But Senator Mike Lee of Utah got backlash from literally everyone across the spectrum. Very one of those interesting, strange bedfellows weeks where there were the environmentalists who of course are going to be anti anything about public selling public lands, but then also right wing folks.
Yeah, ranchers, hunters, it's
totally.
Really this is the topic to unite us all.
Yeah, and even further right wing that are not people that you would necessarily think of in the multiple use, hunters, anglers, etc. Space. So he really united everybody against him and against this push. So yeah, as of right now, and we are recording this for, just to be clear, on Thursday morning. So we'll see what changes as this is part of that giant tax cut bill that President Trump really wants to see get pushed through before the 4th of July. It had been in the House. This is the Senate version. This is where Senator Lee stuck it in. And he had to pull back. So now Forest Service land would not be for sale. And any BLM land under this new proposal from Lee would have to be within 5 miles of, quote, population centers. We can get more into that. But yeah, the Senate parliamentarian this week said, hey, buddy, you're not going about this right. So he was called on a technicality. And then in addition to all this backlash from everybody, made him pull Forest Service land off. But that doesn't mean that there's still not a lot of public lands that people have come to rely on and love for recreation near their cities or towns in the West that wouldn't potentially be on the chopping block.
Well, and Frankie, can I ask, I'm not expecting you to be a Senate, proposal expert.
Yeah.
But everything I've read, it seems like the proposal itself is still a violation of Senate rules, even with these changes. Will that affect what happens during a vote? Like, what are the implications of that if this does get passed?
Yeah, it seems like there still are technicalities that need to get worked out, and that Senator, for example, Senator Crapo, he's the chairman of the Senate Finance Committee. He could have a really strong hand in deciding if this goes through. So I saw Justin Hayes from Idaho Conservation League wrote an op-ed saying Senator Crapo, I'm talking to you. We're talking to you. We need you to stop this. So yeah, I mean, possibly, I guess in some ways it's does it really matter if it goes through this time or if Lee tries to do it another time? He's not giving up on this idea. This has been a thing for him for a long time. And to me, what I found fascinating when it comes to Idaho is how the Idaho delegation was just so behind the ball on saying, well, specifically in the Senate, that Crapo and Risch, who have come out saying, no, we don't want to sell public lands. We don't like this. But they said that many days after it first came out. And in general, I think people have found them kind of wishy-washy on this issue. Then interestingly, on the House side, Congressman Mike Simpson has been one of the strongest advocates for protections in the wilderness. He was huge behind the Boulder White Clouds protection, longtime, sportsman himself. And he made sure that the House was one of the people who made sure that the House didn't have a provision like this on their side. So it'll be interesting to see what Simpson does if it does make it through the Senate and it heads back to the House.
Well, definitely. And I don't know if you saw, but Mike Simpson recently posted a video, because we keep talking about how Mike Simpson is being a strong defender. I wonder if that is Mike Simpson of the past, because he just put out a series of videos saying, we've got to pass this. We've got to pass this gigantic monstrosity of a terrible bill. And he passed it. Actually, it was so dystopian because he was doing a TikTok dance, it was called a fit check with this upbeat song. And he's like, fit check with me while I, we got to pass the bill. It felt so dystopian, get ready with me while I take away public lands and healthcare from Americans. Woo woo. It was just so dystopian that this is where our political discussion is at. Yeah. And that he's supposed to be the one that's the strong defender, but now he's we've got to pass it. And that's maybe my concern is this idea of selling public lands is so unpopular with people that I think truly the only way that they could absolutely pass it is with this bill, because President Trump is pushing so hard on passing this bill. So I think if it was not part of this bill, they would really struggle, because they would be inundated with calls 100%. About this. And so my concern is, because it's attached to this, there's so much pressure from the president to pass this. Mike Simpson seemed like Trump said jump, and he said, how high? I'm actually making TikTok dances to try to get it done, sir. So that's what I'm worried about, is that pressure is what's going to get it passed. And if we could get it stalled, I don't know that it would happen. But I don't know. What do you think about that?
It's a great question. I think, again, since we're recording this Thursday morning, by this time it could already be resolved, and it's clear that this is not going to make it into this reconciliation bill. But like I said, I feel like Lee will try another way down the line if it doesn't come through. I do think Simpson, since that video, which, he got lambasted in the comments, specifically around the public lands piece of it all. It seems like his Instagram, at least, he's been trying to come out really clearly again. Hey, I'm the public lands guy. Don't worry about it. So that maneuvering's interesting. I will say really fast. I mean, so this population center clause, if that were to happen, because, Lee's trying to say, hey, I heard from all of these anglers and hunters and stuff, so this will be better, right? 5 miles outside of Boise includes the foothills still. So the foothills would still be potentially some areas of it, not all of it, but some areas of it that are on BLM land would potentially be targeted in this, as well as the Wood River Valley right next to Haley, just a few miles out. There's a bunch of BLM land. There's BLM land all through southern Idaho and places that people love to hike and camp and hunt and everything. And one more side note on all of this is, Lee's put this out there as the solution to the affordable housing crisis, especially in the West. And Colorado College does this annual survey of folks all throughout the West, including in Idaho. So they polled Idahoans. And even though we all recognize that affordable housing is a serious concern, 82% of Westerners still want the housing to be within or very close by existing communities, compared to 14% who want public land sold off to develop housing. So that argument, I don't think, holds water either.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
This episode is brought to you by GM Genuine Parts and AC Delco. Get the most out of your vehicle with GM Genuine Parts and AC Delco original equipment. The only parts designed, engineered, tested, and backed by General Motors. You can find your perfect fit for most makes and models and choose from 3 tiers of parts, including GM OE or gold and silver aftermarket parts. Visit gmparts.com for more information.
Before we get to our picks of the week, we've got a special sponsored pick from our friends at Visit Walla Walla. And Frankie, honestly, this pick sounds like a dream summer night. Allison Krauss and Union Station, featuring Jerry Douglas, are playing an outdoor show at the Wine Country Amphitheater in Walla Walla on Tuesday, July 22nd. There's going to be delicious food, wine, and those stunning vineyard views. It's the perfect excuse for a summer road trip if you've been looking for one. Plus, Willie Watson is opening the show, so get ready for a night of soulful vibes under the stars. Tickets start at just $72.50, and you can find the details at winecountryconcerts.com. Big thanks to Visit Walla Walla for their pick of the week. Okay, Frankie, but what's your personal pick of the week?
Well, my personal pick of the week is, I'm going to throw it back to you a little bit because did you see that pro soccer, as you know, is coming? And I know that you're a big soccer fan, that they're announcing the name of the team on Friday night.
Yes. Did you see the marquee on the Egyptian Theater?
Oh, yeah. I love that they did that downtown. Like, are really grabbing people's attention. So name will be announced, all the branding, I assume, like colors and like what's the mascot, all of that stuff. So I know that you had some suggestions for the folks with who's putting together pro soccer, specifically to Bill Taylor when you talked with him a little while ago. You suggested, you had Valley United was one of your suggestions. FC Perpetua, riffing off the state motto, right? The Boise Range, and then Boise Vibe, I think were your 4. I went on Reddit because it's always fun, and was seeing what other people were suggesting. And there was like one that I like was Boise Cutthroats.
I thought I saw that too. And I was
what
like,
do you think of that one? Yeah.
Okay. No, I kind of like it. Like, let's go hard. We're new.
Yeah.
Let's jump into it. Like, definitely that'll get the fans riled up for sure.
That's what I thought. And it's cool because in some ways it is referencing obviously the cutthroat fish, but like maybe don't have the fish be the mascot. Maybe have something a little more serious looking. But I mean, I like that one. There was also like, then some people were just spouting off some goofy ones like the Boise Calimochos and stuff, riffing off of bass culture.
also, but that one could work so well too, because like if they get a certain number of goals or if, the other team gets like a certain number of like yellow flags, something like that, then you could be like, hey, $1 Calimochos. Like, I feel like there's a lot of marketing opportunities with that one.
I agree. Okay. So if you had to pick one as of right now that you love of either your ideas or other ones you've seen, which do you hope it is?
Probably my 2 favorites still are Valley United and Boise Vibe. I think those would be good. I do think it'd be interesting if we did do like, Range FC or something like that, and then our public lands get sold off. That would be ironic.
Oh boy.
Like that would be kind of a downer, like, oh yeah, no, we did have these outdoor spaces back in the day, kids, but
yeah. Well, I'm really curious to see what it will be. And of course, I'm also interested to see how much people hate whatever the decision is, because of course that is inevitable to some degree or another, that people will not like either colors or mascot or whatever the name is. But I'm excited for this. So yeah, tonight, I guess that anybody's invited. Everybody can go to Les Bois Park Grounds. It's at 7:00 on Friday, and be there when they announce all this stuff.
So my pick of the week is actually happening tomorrow morning. And I have to tell a little story before we get into it. So there's a group, Idahoans United for Women and Families, and they have been kind of behind the scenes working on a ballot initiative to restore abortion rights. And there was actually just recently a ruling by the Idaho Supreme Court, because the Attorney General, when you want to put something on the ballot and have a ballot initiative, the Attorney General gets to write like the little bio about what it is and
description of it.
Yeah. And give a fiscal statement. And Raul Labrador, who I don't think it'll be a surprise to anyone, is biased against this ballot initiative, wrote a description that appeared to be quite biased. And then a fiscal statement that would have put the cost in like $85 million, like tens of millions of dollars. And so Idahoans United for Women and Families said, hey, like, you don't have to agree with us, but it's supposed to be unbiased. It's just purely supposed to be a, hey, voter, here's a description, here's how much it would cost. And the Idaho Supreme Court agreed and said, this is clearly biased. You can't in any stretch say it would cost this much. And so it took quite a while for that decision, though, but it was a unanimous decision. And so the next step is they are working to get volunteers, to get people signed up to really get momentum behind this ballot initiative. Just like all these other states, just like Kansas, all these other states where abortion was banned, and then they were able to, the voters wanted to vote on it. They want that to happen in Idaho. They're saying, let's just let Idaho voters decide what we want in our state. And so they are actually holding their very first rally or group meeting since the Idaho Supreme Court decision. They're calling it the Rise and Sign, and it's Saturday, June 28th. From 10 a.m. to noon at the Idaho Capitol steps. And so they're just asking people, come get more information, come find out what we're about, come sign up if you want to volunteer. But they've finally gotten the go-ahead to start getting signatures, to start getting volunteers, to start getting movement behind this ballot measure.
And remind us, if they're able to gather enough signatures and all that stuff, because there's so many steps, it would be for the 2026 election. The ballot 2026 is what they're hoping for, right?
Yes. Yep. They would hopefully be on the ballot November 2026, which they have to get enough signatures by the spring of 2026. So, I mean, it's almost July. They're going to be in a pretty tight time frame. So I'm interested to see what momentum they can get and what they can get going. But yes, we would vote on this during the midterm elections, November 2026.
Gotcha. Can I give you one more bonus pick of the week I just thought of?
Absolutely.
We can't forget before what you're headed to on Saturday. You're going to be at the Boise Farmers Market one more time. You've been there the last 2 weekends in a row, and you're going to ring the bell, right, to open the market?
Yeah, I was going to say I've watched it for 2 weeks now, so I think I got it. But yeah, so I'm going to be there one more week at the Farmers Market, and yeah, it's been great. I appreciate everyone who's come up to the booth, who's talked to us. Lots of great questions about the podcast. So it's been really fun being at the Farmers Market and meeting listeners.
I love it. So yeah, if you're the early birds who get there right at 9, you'll get to see Lindsay open it all. So say hi.
Well, Frankie, thank you so much. I think it is going to be a fantastic weekend. Thank you for taking the time to break down these kind of salacious and hot stories. So I appreciate you being here.
Yeah. Go Valley United. We'll see.
That's all for today here on CityCast Boise. The show is produced by Evelyn Avitia, Frankie Barnhill, Selena C.A. Reynolds, and me, Lindsay Van Allen. Blake Hunter writes our Hey Boise newsletter, and our theme music is by Up Is the Down Is The, with additional music from All the Kimonos and Hip Color. We'll be back on Monday with a look at what's happening in the Barber Valley neighborhood. Catch you then.